Okay, so can everybody see my screen here? It's got our Outbuild Trailer Talk logo.
Yeah, we got you.
All right, beautiful. So again, welcome everybody. We're super thankful to have you here. We're excited for this conversation today. We're going to be focusing on ways that you can leverage Procore and Outbuild together. And our agenda for today, we're going to go through our intros and some of the admin work. So Mike, Brittany, and myself will introduce ourselves. We'll also talk about how we want to treat this space. So that's what we're talking about when we're in the chats, when we're in the Q&A. We want to be respectful to everybody here. We want to make this time as effective as possible. We'll then move into our presentation. It's going to be just really a how-to of how the Procore integration works, ways that you can leverage it, make sure you're aware of all of the different features, and then open up some discussions there. Then we'll move into our kind of research and development. So we'll touch base on what we're currently developing right now, give you a little glimpse of our roadmap. And then we want to do some live Q&A sessions and some polls. And so we're really excited for the polls today because we're going to have two. The first one is going to be focused on that Procore integration. We want to gather ideas from you to see what our next target is. And then we also want to establish what our next subject will be in March. So we're super excited to share that with you. Now, our goal is to take less than 45 minutes today. I've got a feeling we're going to land anywhere between 30 and 40. So again, appreciate you taking this time. Now, when it comes to how we want to respect this space, we do leave it open to you to have conversations with us through the chat, to ask questions through the Q&A, or you can even raise your hand and we'll do our best to answer those questions live while we're in the presentation. Everybody did an excellent job last time of being respectful of each other and respectful of this time we have together. We ask that you continue that. We are all here. We are all on the same team, trying to build something that's going to help improve the construction industry and how we schedule and plan. So we're excited to have you be a part of that. And then now it's around a time for our intros. So you've probably seen all of us either in a training call, maybe you've had us in a help chat, maybe you've called us at 7 in the morning, which I promise you, we actually love getting to get on the phone with you and talk shop. But we are your success managers at Outbuild. I'm very excited to announce that you're going to see a new face show up here very soon. She'll be a part of our next webinar. And we know that she's going to do an excellent job of handling all of your needs and addressing any issues that you might have. And then I like to do a quick round of intros. So I'll start with myself and then allow Mike and Brittany to introduce themselves. So my name is Ben DeBerry. I'm a success manager here at Outbuild. I will be celebrating 2 years with Outbuild next month. It has been an absolute pleasure to grow with this company and to grow this product with you and to be able to serve you. A little bit of a background for me is I do come from the construction industry. I was born and raised in Tennessee for 24 years, was in the construction industry, learned about working in the field, learned about project management there for a general contractor, and then moved to California in 2015, where I worked with a framing and drywall company with Mike, actually. We worked on the new Stanford Hospital, had a lot of success there, had a lot of challenges there, and learned a whole lot. And then I moved into customer service and customer success in 2017, and then I've been following this path ever since. And I'm excited that I get to use my limited knowledge of construction to help serve you guys. So I really, again, just appreciate your time, and then I'll hand it over to Mike for his intro.
So I'm Mike, head of customer success. I've been with Outbuild 2.5 years now. I've actually loved every second of it. Ben and I have worked together in the past. I've been in the construction industry for about 15 years. Designer, subcontractor, general contractor, and owner. You guys are probably all tired of hearing that. I've said it every time I introduce myself, but it does give us a very well-rounded exposure to all the things that are happening in the field, all the things that are happening in the office. And our main job at Outbuild is to connect the two.
Thanks, Mike.
I will go next. So I see a lot of East Coast folks in the chat. So most of you already know who I am. I've been on chats and video calls and training sessions with most of you, it looks like. For those of you who don't know me, I am Brittany Evans. I lead up success for the East Coast. A little bit of background about me. I started off in the construction industry at a mom and pop construction company in Virginia Beach, Virginia. I started off as just the receptionist, answering phone calls, worked my way up to being the office manager. So in charge of scheduling and everything pretty much that didn't include wearing a hard hat. And then after that, I moved to ADP where I was a project manager. So I would say I'm a well-rounded customer success manager. I got a lot of experience in different industries, which has helped me as I transition to Outbuild. I'm going to piggyback off what Ben said. We really do love what we do, and I hope you guys gather that through our interactions and this webinar. And please don't be shy in this chat as well as the Q&A. I'm done.
Thank you, Brittany. Awesome. So let's go ahead and just dive right into the presentation. Oops, there we go. And again, so our topic for today is leveraging Procore with Outbuild. So as we all know, probably everybody here is a Procore customer. It's an extremely powerful tool. It's been in the industry for a while now. And they've done a really good job of creating a central location for all of your project management needs to flow in. Now, where we step in is with that scheduling and planning process. And for any of you that have ever created a schedule with MS Project or within Outbuild or any other solution, you understand how complex that can get sometimes. And so we strive to really provide a simple tool that works very well. And then we want to feed that information directly into Procore. And so we want to share with you how we can currently accomplish that, and then talk a little bit at the end of this call of what that path forward looks like and what you'd like to see. So when you are in Outbuild, first and foremost, we want you to know that you have all of the resources that we could possibly provide. Hopefully it's enough. We really strive to make sure that you have any knowledge base articles you might need, any training videos that you might need, and then direct access to us, your customer success team, when you have any concerns, any questions. And so you can log in, go to that little help chat in the bottom left corner now, contact us directly, or go up to the help desk in the top right corner. That's going to take you to our articles, and everything I go over today, we do have articles and training videos on those. So if I explain it terribly, probably will, then you can access those articles, which Brittany's put together for us, and she does a really good job of showing us how all of this works. Now, when it comes to the integration itself, we really have four main areas that we're focusing on. First and foremost is publishing your schedule from Outbuild to Procore. So that's kind of the main focus that we have that opens up the floodgates to all of the other features of the integration. Once that schedule is in there, then we get to our second part, which is our second most recent release, which is the submittal integration. So that's going to allow you to connect submittals directly to your schedule and easily identify what has an open submittal, what has an overdue submittal, and again, try to prevent any delays that might be occurring on your project. We also automatically create a roadblock from your RFIs in Procore. So if you're familiar with Outbuild and our look ahead module, you know about roadblocks, you know how they serve you to prevent delays. And we want to get as many roadblocks in there as possible. That's not a bad thing. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then our Procore directory integration. So now you have all of your users within Procore. You take on the challenge of growing with Outbuild. You want to get more users in there. You want to get more eyes on your look ahead schedules. You want to collaborate with your project partners. You can import your project teams directly to Outbuild just so you have that ease of access. So let's start with that foundational piece of how this integration works. And how that works is we want to map out our connections first and foremost. So anybody that has admin permissions within Outbuild, can log in, go to your integration settings, and make sure that Procore has been connected. At that point, once it's connected, you will have access to adding projects to between Procore and Outbuild. And so what we're really doing here is we're opening up that pathway for these two softwares to talk to each other. And we're mapping out what specific projects and what specific schedules need to be connected. So you go in, you're going to simply add your project. And then we have a really simple window here. You simply mark what project in Outbuild you want to connect, what schedule within that project, and then what Procore you want to connect to. So really, again, all we're doing here is defining that pathway, and we have to have that initial foundational piece put in place before we can start publishing, before we can start connecting RFIs and submittals. So not everybody sees this screen too often, but I want to be sure that everybody's aware of how this works on the back end. And if you need access to this area, you want to be managing your connections, you can talk directly to us. We'll work with you to get that additional permissions. So just be aware you've got that available. Now, once you have that foundational piece, once you have that communication between your project schedule and your Procore project, we then want to be sure that we're building a strong foundation. And we touched on that last trailer talk when we talked about building a schedule from scratch. We want to be sure we have a very, as accurate as possible, but a very strong schedule that we can start connecting all of these items to. We need to remember, we have a connected look ahead, so we can remove a little bit of detail. We can make our schedule a little more simple. We also can connect our submittals. We can use our RFIs to establish what might be a delay. And now we can publish a very simple schedule to Procore. And publishing that to Procore is what's really going to open up the floodgates to all of these different features. It's really done in 3 simple steps. So now you don't have to go in, use your Procore drive, use different areas, try to find that right file that you uploaded. You simply log into Outbuild, you open up your schedule, and then you have total control over when you publish to Procore. And sometimes we run into this. There is not an automatic sync here. And we do that because we want to give you control to manage and update your schedule within Outbuild. And only once you've reviewed that and validated it with your team, then you take that next step and you push it to Procore. And so it's really done in 3 simple steps. You're within Outbuild. Up above that Gantt chart, you're going to hit that schedule update button. You're going to create a new schedule update. And in that instance, literally a split second, as soon as you have created that update, it's going to push it directly to Procore, and you're going to see all of that data live there. And so I really want to emphasize there, you've got that total control. It's a simple click of a button that's going to push that information to Procore. And then as you do that on a weekly or a monthly basis, we do keep a log of all of those schedule updates that you're pushing through. And you even have access to an XML file that can use to retrieve that data. We can restore a schedule, and you have all of that information. Now, a feature I want to touch on very shortly here is the ability to link related items to your schedule in Procore. So this is actually outside of our realm, but because we're publishing a schedule in Procore, I want to be sure you're aware of this because it allows you to take it a step further. Once you've published your schedule from Outbuild to Procore, you're going to have your Gantt chart in there and your list of activities. If you double click on any number of these activities, it's going to open up all of the information that Procore has on that activity, but it's also going to allow you to link a related item. So if you have a change order, if you have an observation, if you have any item within Procore that you want to connect to that activity, you can do that here. That is kind of outside of our integration, but I think it can be a really powerful function for you guys as we wait for some more detailed integrations to come through. From here, I want to talk about our submittal integration process. And I've got a quick little video here. I'll go ahead and turn it on, but I'm going to speak as we do it. When you're within Procore, you're going to have the ability to create a new submittal. And because you have that connected schedule, when you're creating that submittal, you will have this schedule information tab that when you use this dropdown, you're going to see a list of all of those items that are in your schedule, and you're going to be able to connect that submittal directly to your schedule. And I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. But what's very important here is that we list our lead time, we list our design review time, and our internal review time. Because what we're going to do here is, because we have a connected submittal, we're going to connect it to the start date of that activity, and we're going to start walking back those dates with those lead times, with those review times, to show you when you need to start those processes. And so as we continue this video here, we'll open up our schedule. We'll see that we have bracing, and right now it's showing this blue icon. That means that we have an open submittal in bracing, and that happens instantaneous. When you create that submittal in Procore with a connected schedule, it's going to show up immediately. And then you can take it a step further. You can open up your activity card, go to your submittals tab, and now all of this information here is filled in directly from Procore. So now we're removing a little bit of double entry. Again, we've connected the submittal to your activity. We're walking back those durations to show you, hey, when do you need to have this submittal approved? When do you need to have this submittal submitted? And then it's going to allow you to see, okay, I've got an open submittal. Uh-oh, I'm overdue on my approval date. That blue icon is going to show red. And that red icon is going to say, hey, you've got an overdue submittal. You might need to fast track that delivery, or maybe you need to reschedule. And so I can show that to you in our next page here with a little bit more emphasis. So because we have those connected submittals, we're able to highlight when an item is open or overdue. And so the way that we calculate that is we assign those due dates for the submittal and for the review and the approval by walking back those review times and lead times. And then within the schedule itself, you're going to see these icons change colors. And what's very cool is it is dynamic. So as my schedule changes, if there's any conflict, then it's going to change that blue submittal to red because now it's overdue if I schedule something too early. Or like with exterior skin, I clearly need to push that out 5, 10, 15 days. I can look at my lead time to decide until that is no longer overdue. And then you'll also see your gray icon there for any submittals that have not been started or are still in draft status. One other question that we tend to get is, once I close out a submittal, where is it shown here in my schedule? You'll always have access to that information with the activity card. You'll be able to see that you've got a closed submittal, but we remove that icon from the Gantt chart because it's nothing to worry about. It's already been approved. You don't need to visualize more information here in our schedule here. I know I've been talking pretty fast. I'm trying to move through a lot of information here. Mike, Brittany, are you guys doing okay in the chats and the questions here?
Yeah, we've got some great ones so far. I don't know if you want to maybe answer some of these or look at the answers real quick as a group.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'll just talk about the one I'm answering now from Michael. He said, what happens if you have multiple submittals linked to a schedule item? So I do want to address that. currently on the Procore side, it is limited to a one-to-one connection. So one submittal per one master schedule activity. So right now there is not currently a way to attach multiple master schedule activities to one submittal. So I just want to clarify that.
And then to maybe take that a step further, if I'm reading the question correctly, you can have multiple submittals on one activity. And
That
so,
is-
so
yes.
what it will do, it'll also show the highest priority status. So you might have 5 open submittals, but if one of those goes to overdue, that icon's going to show as red, so that you're targeting that overdue submittal. What other any other questions we might need to address live here? You can see we've got a couple answered. We got several chats.
Yep.
Kyle. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Brittany.
Kyle did have a question about the integration settings being in the actual master schedule module, not having to go to the integration settings to connect the different schedules. So my suggestion was that instead of moving where integration settings was, to have an icon next to the schedule name so that you know that is the schedule that's connected to Procore. I think that was a cool suggestion.
I think that's an excellent suggestion. I know internally there have been some conversations about, adding a Procore logo next to the schedule name, kind of like you see with the schedule update. So maybe that'll be a feature in the future that makes it really easy to see. And I see we've got Carrie on here.
Yeah, so Carrie's asking about, is there a particular nomenclature, some sort of specific schedule name that you need to put in for it to connect to submittals? You just need to make sure that on the Procore side that you have a setting set for your schedule calculation, and that will allow you to pick the drop down and actually connect your submittal information to your outbuild schedule.
Yep. Yeah, so let's answer that a little bit further in detail too. I know we've got an article on this. That schedule information tab that's within the submittal creation field. That is a field you can toggle on and off in Procore. So if you're creating a submittal and you don't see an area to connect to your schedule, you can let us know. We'll send over that article or help walk you through that process of just turning on that field. So you're going to get that full integration. Beautiful. Any other questions here about submittals? I think I'm seeing it all here. All right. Beautiful.
Yeah, throw it in the chat there if you're using this actively too, because I think it'd be great to kind of get an idea. And I know we train every day. I'd love to see the amount of people in this call specifically that are using this.
Yep, absolutely. Beautiful. All right, so let's move on to our next topic here. We've got one more added benefit of having those submittals connected, and that is having a dynamic procurement log. And so what I mean by that is, if you recall, once we connect that submittal, we're starting to push some dates back and forth. So that required on-site date, that's always going to align with the start date of our activity. So as that moves in our schedule, it's going to change that required on-site date that we list in Outbuild, but we also push that back to Procore. We're then going to use those review times and those lead times to walk back those other dates that we need for approvals. And what you can do is, within Procore, you can go to their reporting tool, you can create a custom report, and you can list all of these fields for planned review time, actual review date, required on-site date, ball in court status, and then final due date and lead times, or schedule task ID, and create a log there that you can then use to manage all of your submittals. And so now we're not having to go into Microsoft Excel, having to update, having to translate that back to our schedule, and getting lost somewhere in between. It's taking all of that data, syncing it together, and then allowing you to navigate and prioritize accordingly. So if you have any questions on that, be sure to let us know. We can help you build out that procurement log within Procore. All right, So what I'd like to do now is move into our other areas of the integration, which is creating a roadblock by using an RFI in Procore. This one's a little more simple, but I think it's equally as powerful, if not more powerful. So when you have a connected project from Outbuild and Procore, and you create an RFI within Procore, it is automatically going to create a draft roadblock within Outbuild. And if you're familiar with Outbuild, our Roadblocks tool is embedded within our look ahead module. And so what a roadblock is, it is simply identifying any potential delay. So as soon as an RFI is created, it says, hey, here's a draft roadblock, might create a delay. Let's evaluate it. If there's any potential delay there, let's connect it to our look ahead. Let's make sure that we get some eyes on it and that we're targeting it. And so it's going to allow you to quickly and easily access that RFI. We do have a hyperlink. You click that Procore logo, it's going to take you directly to that RFI within Procore. It's also going to allow you to connect it to a task within your look ahead, update its status, and be able to visualize it within your Roadblocks tracking tool here, as well as your Gantt chart within your look ahead. And then when that RFI closes in Procore, it will automatically update that roadblock to removed. And then what I want to focus on here, we're gonna focus on RFIs as roadblocks, but I want to touch on roadblocks in general. Every single roadblock that you see in your look ahead should be celebrated. It should be celebrated because that means that your project teams are looking ahead. They have the knowledge and the experience to identify potential issues, and then they're speaking up about it. That is so critical to the success of your project, that everybody has a voice, everybody's gaining experience and knowledge, especially through this collaborative process, and then identifying, hey, there might be a delay there, and never being dismissed for bringing up a potential delay that maybe wasn't. We don't want to keep people from speaking up. And so that's partially why we bring in every single RFI from Procore. So it opens up that conversation and we can learn from each other. I see we've got some more questions coming in. Anything we need to address right now, guys?
I am answering a question from Jed, getting more clarity. He asked, can you elaborate further on the Procore schedule feature that allows for observations to be tied to the Procore schedule line item? Does the Procore line item then reflect to Outbuild automatically, since Outbuild to Procore is always a manual push? So if you are referring to the submittal integration, it's going to be submittals created in Procore are linked to Outbuild master schedule line item. So it's from Procore to Outbuild. And I'm answering this via the Q&A too, but Jed, let me know if you need further clarification on that.
Yeah. And hopefully I can answer that question a little bit more as well. When you have that schedule in Procore and you're creating a linked item within Procore, anything that you do there is only going to live within Procore. It's not a part of our integration. It doesn't feed information back and forth yet, hopefully one day. But right now it's just kind of a supplemental ability that you have by having an accurate schedule within Procore. I hope that answers your question. All right. Next, we're going to move into our directory integration. This one's pretty simple. It's equally powerful, but I want to be sure everybody's aware how it works, how to use it. So as you've used Procore, you've learned that, wow, having more eyes on this stuff is actually really beneficial. It opens up that conversation. We're collaborating. We're being more effective with our time. We're having more successful projects. We want to continue that process here with Outbuild. We've always allowed you to have unlimited users on all of your projects, but we want to make that process as simple for you as possible. So we have added the ability to integrate your directory from Procore into Outbuild. In this current iteration, You simply go into your integration settings, you click these three dots and select import directory. You select your project that you want to import users from, and then you simply checkbox those names and then assign a status or a permission level to them. And so that's going to send them an invite to Outbuild, allow them to get in here and to start using the software. And if you're familiar with our look ahead module and the way the roadblocks work, that's really the collaborative piece. We have a lot of controls in place that allows you as a GC to have your subcontractors in there and not making changes to that contract document, to that master schedule. And I'm going to start moving a little bit fast here. We've got about 10 minutes and I don't want us to be short at all. And so what I'd like to touch on now is just our current roadmap and what we're developing for you guys. Right now, we're still only sharing through March. We're still deciding what we're going to be doing in the coming months. But I want to be sure that since we're here, we're having this conversation. So something that some of you users might have noticed is that we do have an auto-saved view for you now. So if you are in a project, opening a schedule, you set a filter, you set your WBS colors, you turn on your critical path, you leave, you go home, spend time with family, come back the next day. It's going to save that for you on that particular schedule. In the future, you're going to see that where you can apply it to a whole project, a whole schedule. But right now, it's just saving that user view. So I'm hoping that saves you a little bit of time. And again, allows you to get home, spend time with family. We've also updated our modification request modal. So all that is we show a little bit more information when you're sending out those modification requests. That's the first iteration right now. And in the future, you'll see some added abilities there. We've also updated our look ahead exportable. So now you can go in there, select up to 8 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, and a little bit easier process for exporting that out if you need to do 3 weeks, 8 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever you need. And then some features that we're really excited for is the ability to have a schedule of schedules. So when you're in that home page and you have all of your projects open there, by the end of this, or by the end of March, you'll have the ability to see how each one of those projects is doing on a schedule basis. So what's their progress, what's their start and their end date, and you're going to see it like in a Gantt chart, just like you do with your current schedules. We're also going to allow you to have multiple Procore company logins. So we're starting to see that more and more as we grow, where certain teams are using Outbuild. Maybe their particular organization has 2 different company logins for Procore. So we want to make it so that you can be in one instance of Outbuild and open that up. And then just some simple added features to the iPad where you're going to be able to drag and drop tasks around so that you can reorder it visually, and it makes a little more sense when you're sequencing your work. And then what I'm going to do, we're going to open it up to just live Q&A, and then we've got some polls that we want to take today to get your feedback on how we can improve the Procore integration, and then any new features you'd like to see there. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on our first poll. If I can figure out how to do that. Hey, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not seeing our poll button here. I've got the chat and the Q&A, but.
Oh, that's interesting. You're
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. All right. So I'm going to open up our first poll. We've got 2 questions here. First one is focused on what could we improve in the current integration? So what would you like to see kind of added to submittals or RFIs or the schedule? And then the second question is more focused on what would be something totally new with the integration you'd like to see. So I'm going to launch that poll right now. Give everybody a couple minutes to write in there, answer anything, and then also open up this space for more of a live Q&A here.
I have another sneaking suspicion that that daily log idea is going to be highly upvoted. We hear that one a lot.
Yep.
Especially from field teams that do those daily logs every day. It's a lot of work. So if their data is already in Outbuild, we can imply a lot of that information directly into the Procore integration, and then you guys are just reviewing what's already put in there.
Yep.
Save you quite a bit of time.
I'll go ahead and answer Kyle's question live. It's having to do with multiple Procore projects. Kyle, you asked, does that mean that a single project schedule could be synced to 2 or 3 different Procore companies, or just allows a user to pick one or say 2 or 3 companies? So for this improvement that we were just speaking for, it is for companies that have 2 different child companies in Procore, so they can pick which Procore company they log into to connect those projects to that specific child company or partner company. So it's not actually with the specific projects connecting those to multiple Procore companies. It's allowing the user to access that different Procore account. Thanks. All right.
I can answer Jed's too. So Jed, good question. So observations are separate than RFIs or submittals, but we already have that integration. We already have an API manager that is looking at that information anyways. So it would be almost similar. We could build a feature that the RFI feature is already built to provide that connection where RFI is written in Procore, shows up as a roadblock in the look ahead and outbuild. It could be the same thing where an observation is made in Procore using the app or the web version, and that also shows up as a roadblock in Outbuild. And it can already be marked as one connected the same way. So that's actually a great question too. People on the call, I've heard mixed use about the way they use observations, how often they use it. I know it's part of the daily logs. So that's another big thing that would be a huge it's time saver. It's really, this webinar is really about asking everybody on this call where you use the most features in Procore and how they could tie to your schedule and Outbuild. So these are great questions that are going to go straight to our development team, and you'll start seeing some new adjustments to those. That might even be a quick one too. I don't want to speak for our development cycle, but that could be a quick one of also bringing observations if they're new on the Procore project.
Just to speak openly, I really love the idea of taking whatever items or objects that do exist in Procore and deciding as a team here, and I'm talking about everybody on this call, what would make sense to be a roadblock. And then having those come in, and they're all just draft roadblocks. And then, like I said earlier, we celebrate those. We want to see them. We want to connect them to our look ahead. I would rather see 100 roadblocks for next week than 0. Because 100 means we're looking ahead, we're planning, we're trying to avoid delays. And I certainly hope none of you have 100 roadblocks next week.
They do, they just don't know about them yet.
Right, yeah.
That's the
They're
problem.
there whether you mark
They're
them or
there.
not.
Yeah.
So
those field staff know, they don't have a way to share it easily, or they don't maybe feel comfortable sharing it. But a roadblock is only a problem if you don't do anything about it, right? That's really the main idea why we want to forecast this stuff. It also keeps your highest paid, smartest professional from having to go find this data instead of solving the problems. Just finding the data takes 10 times as much time if you're not as close to the work as somebody who's actually putting in the wall or pouring the concrete. They know that stuff right away. So
yeah.
We got another one from Carrie here that I can answer as well. Is there a way to delete all connections and start again, as I've saved your on Microsoft Edge, screwed up the schedule, and it's easier to start over as opposed to go through? Yeah. So if you have a schedule that you're making, Carrie, you can select the entire schedule with that top, the first checkbox that's all the way in the upper left. And then there is a chain link that looks like it's broken. That'll disconnect any logic that you have in there, and you can reconnect it. You can definitely jump in if you want to hit a chat, or we can jump in and show you that as well offline. That's separate from any sort of Procore stuff, but that's a good question.
And then I'll answer is Jessica asked in the chat, is there a usability report so we can celebrate top users? We can generate that data for you. So if that is something that you're looking for, we can send that out and tell you who are your top users for a specific for a specific project.
Looks like we've got maybe two more people answering the poll. We're getting pretty close to time, so we're at 10:43 my time. We'll let those polls get answered, and then we want to open it up to our poll for next time. So we want to know what you want to learn the most about. Right now we've got a multiple choice, but if there's anything else in there, you can throw it in the chat and let us know what you'd like to see. And I have no hard stop. I'll stay in this webinar as long as we need to. Well, I have a hard stop at 15. But if anybody needs to go, we totally understand. Otherwise, we'd love for you to hang on. I don't want to kick anybody out of our current poll, and then we'll do another poll just immediately after this to see what our next subject will be. And for anybody who's still here, I think we're planning on March 27th. If I'm not mistaken, that's the last Wednesday in March.
All right. And Ben, I'll just answer your chat. For those analytics, is there a way to automatically get that weekly, monthly? So as far as the analytics dashboard, there's not a way to export a weekly or monthly report currently. But if you are looking for weekly updates, you can get the weekly report for the week commitments and then the week closing. So when you close where you commit your weekly plan, you can get an automatic report sent out letting you know what has been committed for the upcoming week. And then after the week is closed, another report can be automatically sent. So you do have those options right now.
A shout out to Ben and the Ben Stocker and the Skender team. We were looking at your project. It looked cleaner than our demo projects. Like it's amazing. You guys are doing a spectacular job setting up the projects and really tracking weekly work planning every week. It's like I looked in there and it was like, man, this looks better than the things the project we demo with when we train. So really appreciate that. That's it's teaching us a lot, which is awesome.
Thank you. Right now it's showing me that there's two more people answering this poll. It's said that for a minute now. Is anybody still answering? Otherwise, I'm just going to close this and we'll move on to our next. Going once, going twice, closed. All right. And then we are going to open up our next poll here just to talk about our subject for next time. And I'm sorry, we are getting pushed for time here, guys. All right. So we've got an open poll here. We have got a multiple choice for you to select what topic you'd like for us to cover next time. I promise we'll leave it a little bit more open-ended the next time you get in here. But just be aware you've got this to help shape our journey as a Trailer Talk team. So we really appreciate you guys being here.
Keep in mind, this will be Brittany running this one. So let's pick a really tough one.
Pick a tough one, guys. It's Brittany's turn next time.
I'm up for the challenge.
Yeah, if you've experienced any support through Brittany, you recognize she does a better job than Mike and I ever could. So yeah, pick a good topic. She'll crush it.
We should put in some plus deltas of what type of music we play next time too. We got some great responses at the beginning of this chat. So
yeah. All right. So we're just over time. Looks like we just got one more answer. We're gonna go ahead and wrap things up on this trailer talk, guys. I hope that you found it as informative as I intended it for it to be. I really appreciate you taking the time. If you've ever dealt with me, you know I don't shut up. You know I just keep talking. So I hope that this time was effective for you, that you learned a little bit, that you see why we do what we do, how we're trying to further this integration. And we're very excited to share future iterations with you. So we're going to wrap things up here. Truly appreciate your time. And we will see you in our next trailer talk on March 27th.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
There's one last question from Eric if he wants to hang on talking about AI. So we are working on a tool that can look into this data just like anybody else. I think anybody that's in not even the just technology space, but the world in general. If you're not trying to leverage the AI side of what's happening in the world, you're going to be left behind very quickly. So we're definitely working on, again, since we are a tool that has all of this grassroots field level information, we have this absolute database that is accurate data, not just data we're assuming, that allows us to ask questions, like direct questions about, hey, what's been my biggest roadblock on this project, or where have we seen the most push and consistent phases of a building type that we do quite often. Those are absolutely tools we're building language models off of, or using language models to help create. I'm definitely not going to put a timeline on any of that, because we are customer success. We don't like speaking directly on the overall picture of it. But again, absolutely something that we're going to leverage in the near future here. So yeah, we've actually, so another good question. We had a BIM tool previously connected to this platform, and then we've rebuilt so much of it that we kind of stepped back and took that portion out of it. So the connection of like a 4D type scheduling model where you have a model that's directly connected to your activities is absolutely on our roadmap as well. And again, adding gasoline to that fire, an AI model that's also built off of a physical, Navisworks or whatever model you're using to model 3D for your project. I mean, the possibilities are limitless of how you could use that to help make better decisions on the project. I see a lot of really great potential of setting up a schedule and understanding phases and breakdowns of work, of having a model connected to a specific phase, right? So that's a pretty exciting side of it too. Great questions, Eric. Really appreciate it.
Yep. All right. I think that's got us wrapped up for this second trailer talk. We appreciate you going on this journey with us, and you will have the pleasure of having Brittany present next time. So we're very excited for what's in store there.
We'll see you all in a month.
Bye.
Thank you all very much, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.